Hi, my name's Sudbury. I'm an art teacher here at Sudbury Secondary School, and I'm just going to take you through some fun stuff that you can do with clay. This is good for all ages, but particularly for young kids. It's simple stuff, and it's stuff that everyone can do, but just to show you some of the different techniques and things you can do to be creative with clay. So let's introduce you to some of the materials you're going to need. It's a good idea to have some kind of a board down on your table top so that you don't ruin your table. If you don't have that, a chopping board, an old piece of wood, a bit of plastic, something like that will be fine. Otherwise, just make sure you clean really well afterwards. Types of clay. So you can use real clay if you want to, but of course that needs fire in, so most of you probably don't have access to a kiln. So I've got this other type of clay. You can buy this at the dollar store, and it's a natural model in clay, and it's air dry, so it dries in the air, and as you can see, it wasn't very expensive. So if you can get that, that's great. If you don't have either of those things, I have a Sculpty here. Now Sculpty doesn't dry, it's a modelling clay that you can use over and over again. And then of course, if you really want to, you can use Play-Doh. But the disadvantage to Play-Doh is it doesn't dry, so nothing you make will be permanent. So this is the dollar store clay. So I'm going to start by showing you how to make a simple pinch pot. So you're going to start by making a ball out of the clay. Just roll it. Takes a little while to get it perfect, so be patient. Roll it again. Try not to have little bits of stuff on the board like I did. If you do get something in the clay, just pick it out. If you have creases in the clay like this, just smooth them out with your thumb so that you don't have cracks. And again, keep rolling it until you've got a nice ball, and working it in your fingers. A little something in there again. There you go. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but you should have a pretty decent ball by the time you're ready to start your pinch pot. Okay, so here we are. Beautiful little sphere. Okay, so the first thing you do is poke your thumb into the center, and then you just work around, just move in around and around, and pinch in the sides with your fingers and the inside with your thumb, so that you have something like this. You want to try to get the walls of the pinch pot relatively even, but don't make them too thin or the pinch pot will start to collapse on you, and you don't want that. So again, turn it the other way now, pressing your fingers into the sides, and then you have a cute little pinch pot like this. Oops, it doesn't stand up. So just press it down a little bit so it'll stand. Okay, and that's a very small pinch pot. Now you can use that, something like that, to put little earrings in, or rings, or if you're a guitar player, you can use it for guitar picks. And then when you're done and you like it, you can leave it out to dry. Now if you want to, you can do a little bit of carving onto the sides. If you have clay tools, like I'm very lucky to have a bunch of clay tools here, you can use those. If someone in the family is a dentist or a dental assistant, maybe you can get some dental tools. Those come in very handy. Or you can probably just use some cutlery, old cutlery. Plastic forks are great. Plastic knives, and you can make some little designs in the side of your pot. So you could just make little marks like this. You can do it the other way as well. Or if you're feeling adventurous, you can do other things. You can scrape down, make lines in the pot. Oops. Okay. You can get some different shapes. This one, you can make little circles. So all kinds of different designs you can do into the side of the pot. Or you can just leave it as it was. I've got one here that's just plain that I made earlier. And this one's had some time to dry, so this one's already dry. So it's actually ready for painting now. So we'll look at that afterwards. Here are also some others that were made by students. As you can see, this one painted words all around the outside. This one used a tool to carve little lines in the top and some designs in the side as well. Little asterisks. And this one painted it, so it's sort of like a harlequin design there. And here's a very different one. This one's just been primed, so it's ready to paint now, but they did a square top. So as you can see, there are lots of possibilities, lots of different things you can do with that. Cool, so that's your basic pinch pot. Now, when your pinch pot is dry, and it will take 24 hours to dry, so please don't rush to painting it, the first thing you want to do is prime your pot. So if you do have primer sitting around at home, like a latex primer that you're using on the walls of the house, feel free to use that. If you don't have a latex primer, here's my paint palette. If you don't have a latex primer, just use white paint, whatever you have. If you have acrylic, that's best. Watercolor, of course, is not very durable, so it's better to use acrylic than watercolor. But latex primer is probably the best, or latex paint. So you're just going to paint the whole pinch pot, inside and out, with your primer. I hope I'm not going through this too quickly for you. And like I said, it will look like this when it's done. Just this one hasn't painted the inside yet, so make sure you do the inside and the outside. And the more you prime this, of course, the more durable it's going to be. If you really want it to be durable, make sure it doesn't break easily. It's a good idea to do a couple of coats of primer. So let it dry for about 20 minutes in between, and then do the second coat. Go. So that's the outside coat, first coat of primer, and we're just going to let that dry before we move on. So if you're lucky enough to have access to a kiln and you're using real clay, this is one that's been fired in the kiln. So you fire it in the kiln and then you take it out and glaze it and refire it, and that's why you get this nice shiny, interesting finish. So most of you probably won't have access to that, but something to think about for the future if you really get into clay. There are some clay workshops in town that you can take, and you'll have the ability to do that then. Alright, so now we're going to look at making some beads. So you need to get yourself a little bit of clay, just a small amount this time, and maybe just break it up into equal size small pieces for now. We'll shape them in a minute. So I'm going to do about 20 of these. Oops. They actually look quite nice, just odd, irregular shapes too, if you want to just stay like that. But if you want something round and perfect like these, then we can do those as well. There are just so many possibilities, and I guess that's what I want to get across here, is that the possibilities are endless with clay. I mean, you can make so many different things, and once you get comfortable using it as a medium, you can start sculpting amazing creations. And the same with beads. You can start making little pieces of fruit or flowers instead of just like little circles. Alright, I think that's enough. I didn't count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't want to have 13. Let's make it 15. I know I said 20, but it's starting to look like I would have a lot, so 15 is probably enough. Alright, so just like with the pinch pot, you're going to make these into little round balls, except they're much smaller, so much easier to do, and you can do it between a thumb and a finger instead of using your whole hand. It doesn't take too long, but be patient with yourself. Don't rush them either. And again, if you get cracks in them, try to smooth out the cracks with your fingers. Just think about all the admirers you're going to have of your beautiful bracelet. You can start selling them. It's actually how I got through university, was making jewellery and selling it. I sold tons and tons of earrings. So right now we're making enough beads for a bracelet, but once you've made your bracelet, of course, you can do matching earrings or a necklace. This one looks a bit big, so I'm just going to take a little piece off that one. Try to get it closer to the same size. They're like little peas at the moment. Some are smaller than others. This one's got a crack in it. There we go. So hopefully you guys are doing this at the same time as me. Okay, I think I've got enough to be moving on to show you the next step now. So if you want to have your perfect little pea-shaped beads, those guys are ready. You need something sharp. So again, you probably don't have access to dental tools. So a Q-tip or something like that would be fine. Not a Q-tip. A cocktail stick is what I meant to say. So just poke a hole in it, one side to the other, just twist it a little bit so you've got a nice even hole, and do that with all of them. I don't think a Q-tip would be much good. Okay, and make sure you've got the holes. The holes should be big enough for a wire to go through afterwards. You're going to thread a wire through. Or you can get this really nice elastic so you can have a stretchy bracelet. That's probably the best way to start. So just a few more, and then we'll have to let those dry. Again, unfortunately with clay you do have to wait for things to dry. Like a lot of art, I mean painting you have to let things dry too, but clay just takes a little bit longer. It's best to leave it, these for a few hours at least, and if they're not completely dry then overnight is best. Alright, so the next step after that of course is to let them dry, and they'll look like this when they're dry, so they'll change colour. So make sure that they've changed colour. If not, then they're probably not completely dry. We have some square ones here that we did. Those are quite fun. And notice that the holes are actually quite large. Some large ones, large squares, in case you want to do different sizes in a bracelet. You can do some small, some large. You could do some circle, some square, and mix them up. And I also have some students that made some little strawberries as well, which those are cute. They're quite big as well. So you might just want one strawberry with a bunch of little round beads. That would be a cute little bracelet. Okay, so at that point, you're going to prime them, just like you did with the pinch part. Excuse me. Make sure you have some water when you're priming. So always dip into the water first, and then get some primer on your brush. And I'm going to prime a couple of these little round guys. You are going to get paint on you because they're so tiny, it's inevitable. You want to make sure that you get all sides of the bead. There you go, a little bit more here. And once they're primed, just let that dry. You might want to do a second coat of primer as well afterwards. Here's one that I primed earlier. So that one's dry now and ready to go. Steady. Okay, so there you go. Of course, once they're primed and they're dried, then you're ready to paint however you want. So these ones were quite creative. These are bigger beads, of course, so a little easier. I think they used a marker on those instead of paint. So painted first and then used a marker. These ones were made to look like oranges, so they just used the tool here to make little dents in them, to make them look like orange texture. I have some little roses here that were made earlier, and strawberry earrings. Those are cute. Right, I think that's it. Okay guys, thanks for tuning in to our little clay demonstration. Hopefully you're going to have a lot of fun with this and be creative with the whole family. And I hope to see you here at Sudbury Secondary one day. Bye.
Shut up and sit down. Shut up and sit down.